एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज के वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे जॉफ्री चॉसर और उनकी टेल कैंटरबरी टेल्स के बारे में। बट क्योंकि कैंटरबरी टेल्स बहुत बड़ी है तो हम लोग इस पूरे मंथ कैंटरबरी टेल्स के लाइन बाय लाइन एक्सप्लेनेशन पढ़ेंगे। टेल्स को इन डेप्थ डिस्कस करने से पहले जान लेते हैं जॉफ्री चॉसर के बारे में। Geoffrey Chaucer. The age of Chaucer covers the period from 1340 to 1400. Chaucer is the true representative of his age. His works breathe the political, social, economic, and religious tendencies of his time. The 14th century in England was the most important of the medieval centuries. It covered the period of the Black Death and the Peasants' Revolt, the Hundred Years' War with France, and the great economic and social changes. During its years, two kings were deposed and murdered, and dynasties began to rise and fall. The antagonism to the church and demand for the freedom of thought, which was to culminate in the Renaissance and the Reformation, were beginning to be manifested in the century. Chaucer is known for his technique of versification, like that of a fine craftsman and supreme writer, because of his humor and irony. He wrote in the Middle English dialect infused with Middle English was, however, an unstable mixture of dialects infused with thousands of words from French. This period includes his remarkable work, The Canterbury Tales, all forms. The prologue to the Canterbury Tale gives us the background of the actions and movements of the pilgrims who make up the company of the members of the troop who undertook this pilgrimage. All these pilgrimages represent the whole of English society of the 14th century. टेल्स को इन डेप्थ डिस्कस करने से पहले जान लेते हैं उसके कुछ की फीचर्स। द जनरल प्रोलॉग टू द कैंटरबरी टेल्स, इट वाज द फर्स्ट बुक written in English in 1388. It is believed that Chaucer wanted to write 124 tales, but only 24 are written. There are 31 pilgrims, included Harry Bailey and Chaucer himself. The pilgrims are persons of all ranks and classes of society, and in the inimitable description of their manners, dresses, person, horses, etc., with which the poet has introduced them, we behold a vast and minute portrait gallery of the social state of England in the 14th century. They are a knight, a squire, a yeoman, monk, etc. The vitality and the realistic qualities of the various characters are undeniable. Their apparel, too, is, in most cases, described, and that lends additional realism to the portraits. A shift can be seen from a feudal society to a capitalistic one, where each pilgrim in the work has a unique stereotypical traits and a story to narrate. The starting point of the journey was Tabard Inn at Southwark, which represents the city, the new focal institution in society. The Canterbury Tale is a framed story where stories are told within a story that Chaucer narrates. The general prologue to Canterbury Tales, in some respect the most remarkable product of Chaucer's genius, is an extended dramatis personae for the collection of tales. The old feudal system, where social standing was determined by the amount of land a man held from the king, was giving way to a more open and mercantile economic pattern, especially in London, where Chaucer came from the merchant class. He was not a man of the people, but his origins were equally remote from the nobility. There are no barons among his pilgrims, and they head towards the shrine of St. Thomas a Becket. Chaucer never judges, therefore, allowing his readers interpretative freedom. The pilgrims head towards the shrine of St. Thomas a Becket. The opening lines of the prologue, which are an inversion to the lines in Eliot's The Waste Land, portrays April as the spring month, where the showers bring new fertility to the earth, a reawakening, a rebirth, as against the representation of April in The Waste Land, where it is the cruelest month. breeding lilac. The first storyteller was the knight, and his tale was selected as the best story. It is a tale based on the clash between chivalry and courtly love, where Palmon and Arcite fell for Emily, but eventually the latter marries her. The tale is based on Boccaccio's Tessida. The last story was The Parson, and his tale was about the seven deadly sins. His tale is a solemn and formal sermon on the renunciation of the world. The second storyteller was the miller. Being drunk, he starts telling a vulgar tale of seduction where a carpenter's wife was seduced by two clerks. The Revy's tale is an example of quarter tales where he targets Millet's daughter. Do you know what are quarter tales? Are told in response are a reaction to a former attack, insult, question by some other person. The Nun's Priest's Tale was a beast fable about the cock, rooster, and fox. It is based upon an incident in the Reynard cycle. The Clerk's Tale was about patient Griselda, a character in folklore who represents patience and loyalty. The clerk mentioned that he was inspired by Petrarch. The partner was a greedy man who would use all kinds of relics to fool people. He did not even let a penniless widow pass without asking for money. The tale is about four friends who want to kill death. However, due to greed, they ended up killing each other. The old man gave the moral to the tale that all ugly sins lead towards death. He told the friends that they would find death under an oak tree. The nun's Prioress Tale has a prologue where she praises the Virgin Mary. It is about a 9-year-old Christian boy who was killed by the Jews. He kept singing the song O Alma Redemptoris, meaning O Redemptive Soul. The Wife of Bard's Tale caters to themes related to sex, marriage, etc. It raises serious gender issues where she wanted to assert her superiority over Jankin, her fifth husband, who even gave a dead blow on her ears that left the woman deaf. The wife of Bath's name was Alison. Her tale is about King Arthur's round table where a courtier raped a lady. Out of 24 tales, only two are in prose by Chaucer and the Parson, and the rest are in verse. Chaucer told Tale of Sir Thopas and the Tale of Melibea, where Harry Bailey praised the latter and criticized the former. चलिए अब टेल्स को इन डेप्थ डिस्कस करते हैं. Lines 1 to 18. When the April wither showers suit means sweet, the drought of March had pierced to the root and bathed every vein in such liquor, of which virtue engendered in the flower, with Zephyrus eke, with a sweet breath. Zephyrus is the west wind associated with spring, inspired hath in every halt and heat the tender crops and the young sun, hath in the ram his half-course viron, and small fowls make melody. Fowls is birds that sleepen all night with open eye. Because the amorousness of spring causes the birds to sing all night, so pricketh them nature and their courages, then longing folk to go on pilgrimages, and palmers for to seek in strange strands, to fern hallows, count in sundry lands, and specially from every shire's end of England to Canterbury they wend, the holy blissful martyr, for to seek that them had holpen when they were sick. When इसमें poet चौसा ये बताना चाह रहे हैं when April with its sweet showers has pierced the drought of March to the root and bathed every rootlet in the liquid by which the flowers is engendered, when the west wind also, with its sweet breath, has brought forth young shoots in every grove and field, with the early sun of spring has run half its course in the sign of Aries, and when small birds make melody, birds that sleep all night with eyes open, as nature inspires them to, then people have a strong desire to go on pilgrimages, and pilgrims long to go to foreign shores, to distant shrines known in various countries, and specially they go from every country in England to seek out the shrine of the holy blessed martyr who has helped them when they were sick. Uh, it was time when the sweet showers of April rains have penetrated to the vast root of each plant or tree. The dryness of March and washed out filled every sharp duct with that life-giving moisture which has the power to produce the flower and make it grow. It was the time when the west wind also with its sweet breath has animated or vitalized the tender sprouts in every grove and field, when the young sun has run its half course and run the first division of zodiac, and when small birds keep singing all night and do not sleep at all because nature fills their heart with amorousness. At such a time, people feel a strong desire to go on pilgrimages, and palmers travel to strange lands in order to visit distant shrines which have become famous in different countries, and especially from every English shires end. People travel to Canterbury in order to visit the shrine of the holy blessed martyr who helped them to recover when they had fallen in. Now the scene takes place at the Tabard Inn just south of London. The poet pilgrims fall in with a group of 29 other pilgrims who have met each other along the way. Lines 19 to 34. We felt that in that season on a day in Southwark at the Tabard as I lay, ready to wenden on my pilgrimage to Canterbury with full devout courage. At night was come into that hostelry. Hostelry is a lodge or an inn. Well, 9 and 20 in a company of sundry folk by adventure by fall. Sundry is a various in fellowship and pilgrims were they all that tower toward Canterbury wooden ride. The chambers and the stables were wide and well we were in east at the best, and shortly when the sun was to rest, so had I spoken with them everyone, that I was of their fellowship anon, and made forward early for the to rise forward this agreement to take our way there as I would devise. It so happened that in that season, that is in the month of April, one day I lay at the Tabard Inn in Southwark ready to set out on my pilgrimage to Canterbury when the holy religious heart there came into that inn at night as many as 29 persons of different kinds having fallen into fellowship by chance and thus having formed a group. They were all pilgrims who want to ride to Canterbury as their destination. The rooms and the stables of the Tabard Inn were large enough, and we were all treated in the best possible manner. To put the matter briefly, by the time the sun had set, I had spoken to each one of them so as to gain their fellowship, and I came to an agreement with them to rise early next morning and set out on a journey to Canterbury, as I shall tell you. Lines 35 to 42. But nathless, while I have time and space, nathless is nevertheless, ere that I further in the stale pace, me thinketh, in accordance to reason, to tell you all the condition of each of them, so as it seemed me, and when they were in, and of what degree and age, in what array that they were in, and at a night, then will I first begin. But nevertheless, while I have the time and space, I think it reasonable, before I proceed any further in the state, to tell you all about the nature of each of those pilgrims as they appeared to me, and to tell you also who they were, what rank each of them held, and also in what clothes they were dressed, and I will then begin first with the knight. 43 to 63. The knight is the person of highest social standing on the pilgrimage, though you would never know it from his modest manner or his clothes. He keeps his ferocity for crusaders, battlefields, where he has distinguished himself over many years and over a wide geographical areas. As the text says, he is not gay, that is, he is not showily dressed, but is still wearing the military padded coat stained by the armor he has recently taken off. A knight there was, and that a worthy man, that from the time that he first began to ride out he loved chivalry, truth and honor, freedom and courtesy. Full worthy was he in his Lord's war, king, Lord's is king or god, and thereto had he ridden no man fair, as well in Christendom as heatheness, and ever honoured for his worthiness. At Alexandria he was when it was won. Alexandria, the town was captured by King Peter of Cyprus in 1365. Full often time he had both begun above all nations in Prussia. In Litho had he raised, and in Russia no Christian man so oft of his degree in granite. At the siege ache had he be of Algezer, and written in Balmeri, at least was he, and at Satellite, when they were won, and in the great sea, at many a noble army had he been, at Maud's battles had he been 15, and fought for our faith at Ramesses, in Lestries, and I slain his foe is an enemy. There was a knight among them, and he was worthy of brave man from the time that he first began to ride out to take part in military campaigns. His love, chivalry, truth, honor, generosity, and courtesy. He proved his bravery in war in the service of his feudal superior, King Edward III. In order to fight, he had ridden very far. In fact, no man had traveled farther than he in both Christian and non-Christian countries, and he had been always honored in both Christian and non-Christian countries, and he had always been honored for his bravery. He fought at Alexandria when it was captured by King Peter uh, of Cyprus in 1365. Many times he had taken the head of the table in Prussia as the most honored person among those of all nations. He had fought in Lithuania, the most, and in Russia, more than any other Christian of his rank in Granada. Also, he had been at the siege of Alexir near Gibraltar and had ridden in Benaverin. He had been at the Ayas in Armenia and at Adalia in Asia Minor when they were captured by Peter of Cyprus. He had been with many noble expeditions on the Great Sea, that is, the eastern portion of the Mediterranean. He had fought in 15 deadly battles, and he had also fought for the Christian faith at Trimslin in Algeria 3 times in the tournaments, and had each time killed his adversary.